Hello, this is Fatima Hatamanjari and you are in Communication Skills class. Today we're going to talk about emails and memos. The key points that we will cover in today's class is learning the evolving use of emails, instant messages and memos. We're going to learn the process of effective writing and we're going to talk about standards and format of using emails and memos in business correspondence. Emails, whether you love it or you hate it, it's not going to go away. It is here and it's the most important form of business correspondence today. Many people will have a lot of complaints about emails, about the overload of emails and that emails are everlasting evidence. It is true, there are many perks of having emails while there are some of the drawbacks of having emails. We're going to talk about those in a moment. First, let's look upon how an email, a professional email, is drafted. One of the most important aspects of a professional email is the subject line. You summarize the main idea very briefly in a short phrase for the subject line, so the reader has an idea of what the email is all about. Then the next important part of drafting an important professional email is the opening. You reveal the main idea immediately. Emails are direct correspondent documents. There is no much time and words wasted over beginning salutations and how are you or I hope you've been doing well. No such thing. Directly start with your main idea immediately. The reason why the emails have been so popular is the immediacy and the directness of this form of correspondence. The next important part of a professional email is the body of the email. You explain the main idea and you may use headings and bullet listed if you feel like, if you feel that the bullets and the headings are going to be easier in understanding, then you can use headings and bullet lists in your body. Then we come to the closing of the email, which includes the information, the dates, the deadlines, a little summary of the message or a closing thought. These simple 4 steps, if you follow properly, you can draft a great professional email. Now, what are the best practices for good emails? Well, one of the things that you could do is you avoid email if instant messages or social media or a phone call might work better. And why do you do so? Because if you could avoid bringing something for a permanent evidence in the written form. So if you feel that something can be communicated better via an optional medium, you should go for that. Send only content you want published. Because of the fact that emails are everlasting, it's going to stay. It is a hard copy, it's a hard evidence that will stay as long as you want it to. So you only email when you want a certain content to be published or to be there for a longer time period. Writing compelling subject lines, possibly with names and dates. Whenever you write subject line for an email, you try, if the date is important, if the name is important part of the subject of the email, then try to write compelling subject lines like this. Can you present at January 10th staff meeting? So this immediately catches the eye of the reader and shows the urgency of the message. Scanning all emails. Now, when you are replying your emails, these are the couple of checklists that you might want to focus on. Replying. Scan all the emails, especially those from the same person. Usually what happens if there's some people who regularly correspond with each other via the emails, you really want to be sure about which email are you responding if there are many emails from the same person. Another important rule about emails is that since it is a way of correspondence or form of correspondence that calls for immediacy, you must respond within 24 hours. Then change the subject line if the topic of the email thread changes. You can change the subject line too. check the threaded messages below yours. So if there are more messages in the same thread after yours, you must check that what's been going on in the entire thread of the emails. Also including parts from incoming email which you are corresponding. You also have to start with the main idea. The form of communication requires direct communication. You can start with the main idea in the beginning of your email, and you can use headings and lists. There are some etiquettes that you must observe while writing emails or replying to emails, which is that when you are forwarding an email, you must have the approval before you forward, you CC to somebody, right? Also the fact that when you are forwarding emails, CC stands for carbon copy and BCC is blind carbon copy. So for carbon copy you need approval, and BCC is not generally looked upon, it's actually looked upon not really well, because it's a blind carbon copy can be quite deceiving for the receiver of the email. So avoid BCC unless it's extremely important. Otherwise CC is the carbon copy option that you could use for the emails, but you must have an approval before forwarding a certain email. Then we're going to talk about softening the tone by including a friendly opening and a close. And you must, one thing about emails is that since it is such an often form of communication, even then you have to resist humor and sarcasm. Because you must understand that when you are writing minuses the facial expression, the tone of the voice, and the humor that you are trying to make might not be understood in the same manner and can be misunderstood. So, and the last one, which is against the email etiquettes, is writing in all caps. Writing in all caps letters means like you are shouting at your reader. So you don't want to do that. Hence, writing in all caps must be avoided at all times. How to effectively close the emails? You close an email with the due dates, and the next step would be a friendly remark. You give your full contact information, your social media addresses along with your contact information. You edit and you proofread for typos or unwanted autocorrections. And double check before sending or hitting send. Let's talk quickly about instant messaging and texting. So the benefits and the risks of instant messaging. So benefits is definitely low cost, speed, and it is unobtrusive. While when we talk about risks, it's a liability burden and security and compliance. These are the risks of instant messages, while there are some benefits. But the important part is how to use instant messaging when you are at work. So there are a couple of things that you must follow if you are using instant messages and you texting at your job. Number one, you must be following your company policies whatsoever they are about instant messaging, and you cannot disclose your company's sensitive information. Another thing is think again before forwarding any inappropriate photos, videos or art. Separate business contacts from family and friends. It's an important part of instant messaging, so you may not confuse and you keep your business correspondence of instant messaging separate from your friends and family. You could avoid unnecessary chat while you're at work, highly recommended. Then keep status update, for example, unavailable when you are in a meeting or you are nearing an important deadline. Also, what you must do is use correct grammar and spelling so you can shun the jargon. Lastly, we're going to talk about interoffice memos. They're also referred as interoffice memorandums. They are mostly used for important internal messages. So when you have a longer information, then you avoid emails and you move to an a memo, which could be longer in length, and it's not a problem. Messages that require a permanent record and filing are then preferred to be used as memos instead of emails. Memos also demand formality. There is a particular formality in the memos which may or may not, which can be sometimes overlooked in emails. Informing employees without email access. So, what happens is a memorandum is an easier way to inform many employees who do not have an email access. So, there are many employees in the hierarchy of an office or of an organization who may not have the access to a computer and may not have an email. So, for informing them, memos is one of the best ways to keep them updated and informed. So, talking about the similarities between memo and email, we can simply put forward that both have non-sensitive information, and the main idea is given right at the beginning. Both has a subject line, a date line, receiver and sender identification, and both email and memos can be organized in bullets and numbers. You can close both email and memos with action information, dates and deadlines, and a summary of a message plus a closing thought. So, these all together are the similarities between memo and email. Thank you so much for being here today. Khuda Hafiz.